Hey, I'm Isabeau, and for the past 12 years, I've worked as a high school and middle school teacher, and 2 months ago, I retired from teaching. I know. I'm gonna put the link below to the video that explains my early retirement. It's good. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a long story, and it's especially long because I tell it. So if you're curious about that, go click on the link below. Little thing real quick, I just spent the last half hour making this video, and then I got up to check just to see if the last shot was clear and realized that I forgot to turn the mic on. So I'm a little agitated. I'm gonna fix my bangs. I'm gonna silver lining, maybe this is gonna be a better video. Maybe I know what I want to say better now, but I'm also a little irritated. Like I want to punch a wall but not hurt my hand, so I'm not gonna punch the wall. Okay, it's a weird time for me specifically because for the last 11 years or so, actually, what am I talking about? For my whole life that I can remember, around this time, I'm either as a student or as a teacher getting ready to go back to school. Since I've been in school, there has never been a break. I went to Waia'u Elementary School. I went to Waia'u Intermediate, 6th through 8th grade. And then upon leaving Waia'u Intermediate, I went to Baldwin High School. Go Bears. And 2 months after graduating from Baldwin High School, I moved up to Southeast Portland and went to Warren Pacific. I got my history degree, and then a month later, I started grad school at George Fox, and while I was in grad school, I was also completing my student teaching. Did part of it in a high school setting, part of it in a middle school setting. Graduated from that. 2 weeks after graduating from grad school, I flew home. I interviewed for my teaching position, got it. I bet they were trying to diversify the staff. That's a whole other video. And then I flew back up, and within the next month and a half, I was starting my teaching career at Canby High School. I still remember my first class, first period of my first paid year as a teacher was my senior economics class. Did I say that right? I said economics. I felt like I slurred it. Sandy Gallardo, one of my current friends, was in that class, and I cannot even tell you the anxiety I had as I watched students walk through. First of all, wasn't super stoked at the time to be teaching economics. It wasn't what I thought I was most passionate about. It ended up being actually one of my biggest passions. But first day, first period, seeing those 17 and 18-year-olds walk into my classroom, I had this realization that I was closer in age to my students than I was to my colleagues in a town that I wasn't from, and I was just scared to death. I was horrified, but also summoned up all my courage and remembered why I was doing what I was doing and who I was doing it for and who had fought to get me even to this moment. So I didn't cave, but there was a sustained anxiety for not just the first year, I'd say the first 4 or 5 years. I'm talking about this because this time of the year, it stirs me up, and I'm realizing it's stirring me up even though I know I'm not going back into the school as a teacher. That's crazy, first of all. Sorry, I'm just wrapping my mind around that. That's just so odd. It was the plan, but it's just so odd because that routine has been like stitched into me, and now that routine is being unstitched. But I can't help but think about this time for so many students and for so many teachers and staff members, and just this anxiety and worry and hopefulness and expectation, anticipation. Like, it's just all this crazy bundle, and it's enmeshed, and it's hard to discern between all of them all the time. In one moment you are stoked to get back into some sort of routine, see some people you know, and the next moment you're falling apart because you have to go back to a place that maybe you don't love and you haven't felt safe in, or you don't know who you belong to, or all that. Ugh. So as many of my students are going back to school tomorrow in the school district I taught in, and many of my colleagues went back last week in the school district that I taught in, it felt right. It felt good to be able to address some things about first day jitters, you know. But really they're just things that we could do or say in that first day, in that first week. Those first weeks, and honestly just all the time, that could really make these spaces. When I say these spaces, I mean the public school setting, because that's what I know, that's the experience I have. There are some things we could offer each other that could make those spaces so much more worthwhile, productive, safe, effective, great, and we don't always do them because we think that they are secondary to all the other tasks that are put before us. But in my opinion, my opinion feels weak. In my educated opinion, some of these things that might be considered soft skills or just like the fringe things, if these aren't established, good luck trying to accomplish the other things well. Like I don't think you'll find degrees of success. Maybe for a few, but we could be doing a lot better. So for students, I'm just gonna flow with this because I don't have a script and I lost all the other footage. You don't have to smile all the time, but when you can, do it. I don't recommend being fake happy. That is just maddening. And I've resented when people, especially as a woman, have been like, you look too serious, smile more, like you'd be more approachable. I'm like, but what if I'm sad? Or what if I'm really angry about something? I should be able to, like, be it. So I'm not saying wipe out your other emotions and be like that fake robotic happy. But when you're walking through those hallways, you're sitting in your new classrooms at new desks, in the lunchroom, out on the turf, in the field, in the locker room, offer people the recognition of their humanity in front of you. So that could just be some eye contact with a really like gentle smile that just says like, I see you, you're here, I'm here. We're not just warm bodies bumping into each other, like we're like, I see you. When you can, smile more. And then when you can't, it's okay. Can't always be happy. That'd be weird. Another one for students, when you step into your classrooms and if your new classes and you notice that you have a lot of friends, peers, familiar faces in that class, if you could be courageous enough to either sit next to someone you don't know or bring them into the fold, offer that to them. So when you go in those spaces and everyone seems to be familiar with each other, not everyone's gonna wanna sit next to you. You might offer it to someone and they'd be like, nah. But that offering speaks more than is more than just an invitation to sit with your group or for you to sit next to them. Like even if they just outright reject you, and that could be embarrassing. I know, I felt it as a student and as a teacher. But those words spoken that basically say, I see you, common theme, I'd like to be near you or bring you into this space. What I hear in that is, you're not so ugh or detestable that I wouldn't like to be near you. I kind of like who you are, and I think that we could, like, be friends maybe. Or you're not freaking invisible. Ugh. Yeah. No one likes to be invisible all the time. Maybe sometimes. Here's another one, lunchtime. Oh my gosh, lunchtime is like the golden hour of connection. This break paired with food. The school I taught in, we had an open campus, so that meant you could either get your food at the cafeteria and sit in the cafeteria or in the hallways. I said cafeteria, weird, cafeteria. Or you could go to one of the many fast food establishments during lunch that you could walk to and buy your nacho cheese, your chalupas, your pizza, your pad thai if you had some money. That is such a sweet freedom if you have buku bucks, but it also means that this campus at lunchtime just kind of splits up. And that golden hour of connection can become quickly a really uncomfortable, lonely void for a lot of students. who don't have a person or people or a space or a hallway or a chair that they don't feel like they're in the way or obviously alone. So here's a challenge. If you have any trace of empathy, any glimmer of compassion, any speck of understanding and love, you know what it's like to not know where you fit and where you belong, and that fear of taking up space or being an inconvenience. So if you can like tap into any part of that and render out of it some sort of like courage and motivation to reach out, my challenge is at least once a week. Either go ask someone if you can spend, like sit next to them during lunch. It doesn't even have to be like weird. You don't have to be invasive and get in their face and be like, so what's your home life like? Like that could be too much. I know. But it might just be like, hey, is anyone sitting here? Can I sit here? And it could be silent, but then they're not alone. So you could do that. Or you could welcome an individual or a group of people to come sit with you in your space. Or if you're flush with resources, invite a friend who you know doesn't have the resources and grab them lunch that day. So they could leave the building and have an opportunity to see what that would be like. I'm not saying these things without the understanding that it could cost you something and you could get rejected. As both a student and as a teacher, I've outright been rejected. I remember I asked a student once who was sitting down by the mural by the library. He was alone, and I was like, hey, can I sit here? And he just outright was like, no, I don't want you to sit next to me. And just learning how to take rejection like that well has been a practice and go, cool, have a good day. And not turning it into like, well, I don't want to sit next to you. Because then you just have completely demolished all the good that could have been by just asking. So I know it comes with a cost. You might get rejected. You'll probably get rejected. But there is so much power in that person knowing that they were invited. So yeah, lunch is a really precious time. It's a long time to spend alone in a hallway and in a bathroom if you didn't want to be alone. If you can muster the courage, look for people. So here's another one. Students, teachers, principals, administrators, security, office secretarial staff, custodial staff, coaches, everyone in that high school community that I worked in, and I would say in all of them across the world, not just in the United States, not even the public school system. Everyone is spending an awful lot of time and energy and resources trying not to look weird. But it's just like the worst waste of resources because we are all so freaking weird. Like our interests are peculiar, our responses to joy and to conflict are peculiar, our context, our stories, what we came from, peculiar, our laughter, our tears, the way we run, the way we cover up farts in a classroom. Don't even lie, you know you have. Our styles, our attire, our humor, our conflict resolution or lack thereof. Like we are all odd. And I can tell you firsthand, your teachers are weirdos. Your coaches, freaking weirdos. Your classmates, weirdos. Your principals, so weird. Your superintendents, so weird. But you know what? You're pretty odd too. Like you're just weird. It's just like, I am weird. The sooner we understand that these varieties, that there's no normal. There is no normal. And when we get down to it, we don't really want the normal. It feels easy at first, but then it just numbs out everything and it kills our spirit. Recognize that you're weird. Stop looking at the girl across the room because she dressed a certain way or wore cat ears, or your teacher told a story that you thought was strange about how they use their summer. Instead of jumping to conclusions and just throwing heaps of judgment at them, if you could just understand your own weirdness, I believe that it will open you up to better receive and accept someone else's. We are so quick to deflect because we just want to get attention off of us. So if someone does or says something or wears something or comments on something that is just so peculiar to us, and we think that maybe others would laugh at it or get distracted by it, it's a sad thing. But teachers, staff members, students alike like to immediately point fingers and be like, that's what it is. That's the oddity. Everyone look that way because it means we're safe. It means we're off the chopping block for a bit. But that's just shitty behavior. That's just mean. And it doesn't actually address what's going on and just like kicks the can down the road, because eventually you're gonna be found out, because we all are weird. We're all gonna get found out. And then we get found out and we're like, oh my gosh, I love my weirdness. I love wearing all black one day and people asking me if I'm a ninja or going to a funeral, and then the next day wearing every color and mismatching just to get a rise out of teachers in the print room. Yep. It's enjoyable. It's kind of fun now. I'm opening up a can of iced tea. It's kind of fun now watching other people get uncomfortable by you embracing your weirdness. What am I trying to say? Recognize your own weirdness. Welcome it in others. It's so much more fun this way. I promise. And you'll actually get to know the people around you, and they might actually get to know you. On that first day, tomorrow, or whenever your first day is or was, first week, and then every day after that, but especially at the beginning, just let people show you and tell you who they are, and not start off assuming, one, the worst of them, two, when you're coming up from like middle school into high school, or just in between those years, so much is changing physically, emotionally, for some spiritually, economically. Did I say physically? Relationally. Like, it is a crazy hurricane of shifts and changes, and your bodies and brains aren't even fully developed in a way that you can hold all of those things really well. And some of us have like a really strong support at home in our friend groups in our communities, and others of us don't. So you just can't assume that anyone is doing well all the time and operating at full capacity. So on that first day, be excited about other people's weirdness, about your own. Do the hard work of withholding judgment and negative assumptions until you have all the facts. Like, give people, your peers, your teachers, other staff, give them a fresh opportunity to tell you who they are in their actions and their words. And yes, you have to partner this with wisdom. Like, you can't just, some people can be really abusive and cruel and horrible. I laughed because that's just horrible, sorry. Oh, bad timing. Not everyone, when they tell you who they are, is going to be, or who he or she is going to be great. And none of us have arrived. So let others tell you who they are, what they're interested in, what their context is, and be slow to assume or to judge. It really does you no good to do those things. Yes, it fills the dead space, and it might give you some ammunition to build up your social status, which I understand is a tactic for survival in a school setting, but it's just really short-sighted and cruel and evidence of weakness. So be better, be stronger, withhold judgment and assumptions. I feel like how I've seen this manifest in the classroom setting in students is the snickering, the rolling of eyes, the mocking, about what people are wearing, what brands they have or don't have, new haircuts, different haircuts, conversations about what they saw on social media over the summer, shifts in people's gender identity, in their sexual preference, and their socioeconomic status, things that have happened in their family, classes they got into or didn't get into. It's crazy the whispers that actually, it's not crazy. Sadly, it's not crazy or surprising to me the things that I've heard spoken boldly and out loud or whispered in hallways and classrooms. I mean, it's just sad because it's hurtful and there's just, in my opinion, no room for it. But it also is just irrational to me that you would waste any energy or time trying to wound another person like that, Because to me, what I see us doing when we do that is trying to posture yourself to look stronger, better, more attractive, more put together, being on the in. But in fact, you are exposing yourself as the poison. You are morally and character deficient, and it doesn't work out for you. It doesn't work out well. And it robs you of an opportunity to be the person that you know deep down that you want to be, the person that you believe deserves all the good and wonderful things that you want and you need. So students, fellow students, because I'm a student, just not the same way you are, be generous with your time and space to other people. Let them show you who they are. Stop assuming. You don't need that burden or pressure. You got enough on your plate. And there's some really wonderful, like life-changing people that are going to be in those classrooms next to you that you will overlook and push away if you start with judgment and these negative assumptions. You got to bury that, because there's some key people that you need to meet and that need to meet you that you will miss out on if that's your mindset. So shake that useless mindset. And then before my battery dies, oh my gosh, fellow teachers, staff members, eyes, custodial staff, secretaries, principals, coaches, everyone in those school settings. Did I say the lead secretaries in all the different offices? District members, school board, superintendent, all y'all. I know you know this, so this is not fresh information. And it's a lot easier for me to say this because now I'm out. I have less fear that I'm going to be given the stink eye during a staff meeting or shirked in the hallways or that there's going to be an email sent out, an all staff email that you know is directed just at you. You know those? Oh, it's so funny. It's so passive aggressive. Just have a freaking conversation with me. Okay, here's my appeal to you on the first day, the first week, the first months, and just all the days after that. I think we all know, whether you've been in the system as a student, as an educator, administrator, like office manager, an IA, you know, I think, in your spirit that if students, or if I as a teacher, don't feel safe physically, emotionally, if I don't feel seen, if I don't feel like I belong, there's no way in hell that I'm going to learn at my top capacity. And one, I wanted to point out, I think that teaching, when done well, is like one of the most noble positions. So I commend you. I empathize with you. I defend you in so many conversations about the public education system and teachers' pay. Like, I know it. I know it from my dad and mom's perspective, from my siblings' perspective as teachers, from my grandma and grandpa's perspective as teachers, from my friends who and colleagues who are teachers, my own mentor teachers. Like, this is just not my experience. It's from listening and watching and being a part of other people's experience as an educator. We have got to give more of our time and resources to nurturing those soft skills in our students. Empathy, compassion, critical thinking and problem solving, interpersonal communications, working through conflict. And that's not to say all the content areas aren't valid and important. Definitely not saying that. As a history teacher, I feel like there's a lot of stories that we ought to know in order to be able to step into the world in real time and be effective. So I'm not advocating for throwing all that out. But I do think, right, that we need to spend our first day, our first week, our first few months, and all the days after that really communicating with our students about what it looks like to work with each other, to love each other, to approach our work and our relationships ethically, and then to model that ourselves in the way that we as teachers speak and act and work with each other how we relate to and communicate and solve conflict between ourselves, our departments, and the administrators and the school board and the principal. I mean, I said that already, and the superintendent. There's so much pressure as a teacher. So if you're not a teacher, you guys go hug your teachers, or if that's not allowed, let them know you're thankful. And teachers, do the work needed in your own heart and your own mind before going to the classroom, so that you can plan and prepare and teach your lessons and facilitate your classroom setting and work with your colleagues in a way that demonstrates that you love them. I really don't know why you would I just don't know why you would stick in this particular profession if you didn't love your students, and if that's been pushed down by years of mistreatment and a lack of gratitude, and just honestly the pummeling of like community members and low pay and just negative attitudes by the whole country. I get it. I know that can feel like it's getting quenched, but if you can't muster it up or resurrect it or find it again, I don't know why you would stay in the profession. You have a skill set that could be utilized elsewhere in a way that didn't have the potential of having such a negative impact. So to teachers, I love you. You're amazing. You have a very difficult and impossible job, and you can't do it all. I don't know how they ever think we can do it all. But my hope for you in this first day, in these first weeks, is that your sharp minds can discern between what are the essentials and what are the things to be okay with if they just don't happen. In my opinion, some of those essentials have often taken the backseat because they're seen as soft skills. But I just don't know how we grow without them in a lasting way. So go love your students. Yeah. That was really wordy. To my students, current and former, whether you're in high school now or college, or you're starting your first day of your job, or it's just another week and your job has been going on for a while. Have a beautiful day.